This is Cashflow Ninja, Episode 2 with Jack Bosch.
Welcome to the Cashflow Ninja, the podcast empowering and inspiring people to discover how to generate their own income and manage, grow, and protect their own wealth in the new economy. Now, here is your host, MC Laubscher.
Hey guys, MC Laubscher here. Welcome to another episode of Cashflow Ninja. In episode 000, I shared my view on how the old, outdated advice of going to school, then college, get a safe, secure job with a company that has great benefits that you can work for your entire life, and save for retirement and qualified government plans, and then hand over the rest to a financial advisor for 40 years and hope that everything will work out fine, is just not going to cut it in the new economy. I've also voiced to you guys that I really could never understand that if there's only a small group of successful, wealthy people, why do we follow the advice that the majority of people are following that are not successful and wealthy? It's clearly not working for the people following the herd and just doing what everybody else is doing. Mark Twain has said, whenever you find yourself on the side of the majority, it's time to pause and reflect. One of my all-time favorite quotes is from Will Rogers, where he said, the trouble with people is not what they don't know. It's what they think they know. That just ain't so. Conventional wisdom is almost always wrong, and it's really dangerous in the new economy. To create financial security for yourself in the new economy, you cannot depend on a paycheck and save 10% of that paycheck for 40 years in a well-diversified portfolio of stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, and think that you'll have a mountain of money waiting for you when you're ready to use it to retire. You need to create multiple monthly income streams from assets. It's the accumulation philosophy versus the cash flow philosophy. Remember, we don't want to raise our goose and cook it. We want to raise our goose, keep it nice and healthy, and get the monthly golden eggs. It's the gift that keeps on giving. My guest today lives by this cash flow philosophy and refers to lifetime income streams as forever cash. He is Jack Bosch, an entrepreneur, nationally recognized speaker, and wealth mentor who became a cash and forever cash millionaire through real estate investments and online businesses. A German immigrant, Jack left his job after a corporate downturn in search for security and the American dream of wealth. Within 18 months, he reached his goal by discovering and implementing the forever cash wealth philosophy. An active real estate investor since 2003 and respected investment trainer since 2008, Jack has reached tens of thousands of entrepreneurs around the world with his best-selling training programs that include the Land Profit Generator, the Hidden Tax Sale Cash System, and Tax Sale Guides. With his trainings and seminars, Jack educates his students on the secrets to creating and maintaining true lasting generational wealth outside of the traditional 9-to-5 world. Through the diligent application of the forever cash philosophy, Jack was by the age of 37 in the position to retire. Instead, he set upon a mission to help others achieve their financial goals. Jack believes anyone, no matter age or situation, can become wealthy and stay wealthy within 3 to 5 years' time in their own business, even if they are working full-time, starting with little money or assets. Jack shares his proven wealth strategies for creating a life of abundance in forever cash. Just a reminder that you can find all of our past shows, show notes, and recommended resources, and join our community at cashflowninja.com. We'll post today's show notes at cashflowninja.com/002 with all the links to resources discussed during today's episode. During the first 2 months of our podcast, we are giving away a $500 Visa gift card. All you have to do to get entered into the drawing is go to cashflowninja.com/iTunes and rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast. Please help me get the word out about our show. If you feel that our shows provided valuable content and information, please share it with family, friends, and anyone that you feel will enjoy it.
Hey, this is John Lee Dumas from Entrepreneur on Fire, and you're listening to the Cashflow Ninja podcast with your host, MC Laubscher. You must be prepared to ignite.
Well, Jack, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Could you please share a little bit about your background and your journey of how you went from being broke and in debt to financially free in 3 to 5 years by creating multiple income streams?
I would love to do that. Thank you very much. Yes. So again, my name is Jack, and I've been actually real name is Joachim. I'm from Germany. But I live in the U.S. since 1997, and it happens that in the U.S. nobody can pronounce my first name, so I switched it to Jack. And that works just fine now. Everything, my business cards, everything say Jack. My website, everything is Jack. So I came here literally with 2 suitcases, a bunch of student debt, finished my college degree, got a job afterwards, did the usual thing that everyone says is the American dream, and found myself a few years later deeper in debt than I ever had. Now, instead of just having student debt, I had a house loan and car loans and credit card debt and all this kind of stuff. And I was wondering how that in the world would ever lead to something like financial freedom. And at the same time, I also, the company I went through a big downsizing path, and they let go of 3,000 people in a matter of a year. And in that process, I realized that I really need to take care of my own financials. I really need to be in charge of my own financial life, of my own life for that matter. I can't be living in fear, can't be sitting there at a customer side. I was a consultant for a software company. And sitting there in fear of my phone ringing and me being fired. I can't be sitting there in fear of what's going to be next. And yet I couldn't afford to lose that job, and I couldn't afford to even be fired because I was an immigrant from another country. And I'm still working in a work visa scenario that if I would have lost my work visa, I would have had to leave the country. So doubled up, worked even more, but started to look for other ways to break free. And in my case, I found real estate, and I found a way to invest in real estate that is very, very low risk, very, very low cost, yet produces cash flow and produces cash. And by the time I got my green card, not only was I debt-free, I had paid off my cars, still had my house debt, but paid off my credit card debts and had literally a year's worth of living expenses sitting on the sideline. And so I took the plunge, quit my job, and built in the real estate world, and I continued building my income from there, and continued building cash flow. And literally 8 months after I quit my job, I was officially my net worth was $1 million. So it goes pretty quick, and I had more cash flow coming in, and still have. And I was financially free for that matter.
What strategies and time-tested wealth principles did you and your wife use to become free from the earn and spend cycle? What are the most important steps that you took to eliminate debt, take control of your personal finances, and start to invest in assets that generated monthly income streams?
Sure. My main investment vehicle is real estate. Now, but at the same time, I realized that most people invest in what I call the pile of money theory, which is basically just like invest in something for appreciation, for that the pile goes up, and then once you retire, you hope to be able to live off that pile for long enough and not outlive that pile. And I realized that there might be another way around there that is a cash flow oriented approach. So instead of focusing on investing in something that just goes up and provides no cash flow, we started investing in cash flow assets like rental real estate, or initially selling properties with seller financing, selling pieces of land, which is the chosen vehicle that I did for the first, and I still do, but was the majority of my deals for the first 7-8 years of doing this were just land, and then I added houses to it. But in our family, we even started talking about 3 kinds of cash. We started talking about one-time cash, temporary cash, and forever cash. And these concepts, even though you can't find them in any dictionary, they're just made up terms, but they mean something to us. And one-time cash very simply means that you invest in something that brings you more money one time. So you buy a house for $50,000, sell it for $60,000. That's one-time cash. You made a $10,000 profit. You buy a stock at 100 and it goes up to 130. You sell it. You have made $30 per share in one-time cash, because you cash it out, and so you got only paid once. Temporary cash, on the contrary, is when you buy something or when you sell something or when you do you do a deal one time and you get paid multiple times. So if you do seller financing, you give somebody a loan, you lend somebody $1,000 and they pay you $10 interest a month, and after a year they pay you the $1,000 back. You received $120, 12% on your money, plus you got the money back. Now, that doesn't sound like a whole lot, but what if you do that with $100,000? Now you get $1,000 a month, and at the end of the year, you get your $100,000 back. So you did the deal once, but you get paid again and again and again. So we're getting into the cash flow territory. And forever cash is really when you do a deal once and you get paid forever. So when you do, in our case, temporary cash, to go back to that, when we sell a piece of land, we might buy it for $3,000, sell it for $30,000, take $3,000 as a down payment, and allow the person to pay the rest off in $400 a month payments for the next 10 years. So now I did the deal once, I got all my money back, but now I'm getting cash flow for 10 years in a substantial amount of $400 a month. And in the forever cash world, the best way is either like a dividend stock, or in my world, real estate. It's basically a rental house that you buy it once, and it throws off cash flow forever. And by doing these things, by shifting our investment towards temporary and forever cash cycles, we went away from the pile of money theory and towards the cash flow theory of money. And within literally months, we had built up more cash flow from these temporary land deals than I actually made in my job.
Can you talk a little bit about the wealth wheel process that you've laid out in your book really nicely?
Absolutely, I would love to. The wealth wheel process is something that allows really everyone to actually do what I just described. And the way you do that is my philosophy on wealth creation that has allowed my wife and I to be financially free after just doing this for a few years is an expansionary theory. So it's not like you don't save yourself and become miser and live on peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and for 5 years in order to be debt free. Instead, you want to expand and make more money. However, at the same time, there is parts of your life that I'm sure everyone wastes money. Right now, I just looked at my cable bill the other day, and then my cable bill is $170 a month. And I was like, cable TV bill. I was like, what? This is like incredible. I have every little addition to it, yet I barely watch TV. So one of the things I'm going to do is that first of all, I'm going to switch to another provider, cut off some of the things that I truly never watch. And I'm going to keep what I truly care about and what I watch, but the stuff that I never watch, why would I pay for it? And I know I can cut my cable bill by $100 a month. That's $1,200 a year just by doing that. The same is possible with the cell phone bill and so on. So the first step in the wealth wheel is look at your expenses and see what you can cut out that is painless. Stuff that you don't need, that you can cut out right away. The second step is put that money off to the sideline. And the third step, and don't use it right away to go on a vacation. Put it into what's called a seed money account. And then the third step is now find a way to actually make more money. Learn a technique like real estate, like stock market trading. Learn a technique that allows you to make more money and then take almost every dime from what you made and also put that into your seed money account. I'm saying almost because if you have a whole bunch of personal debt, use a part of it to pay down the debt. But use a large part of that to put into the seed money account, even if that is an extra job, and even if that is mowing the neighbor's lawn, even if that's selling something online, whatever it is that makes your extra money works, and then or flipping real estate for that matter. And then once you and I can almost guarantee that within a year, or often less than a year, you have enough money in that seed money account to now invest that into a forever cash asset, meaning into an asset that spits out passive income forever. And then you take that money from the passive income and you don't use that to go on a vacation or buy the Ferrari. Instead, you also put that into your forever cash seed money account. And now you have an extra source of revenue for that seed money account. And you keep doing those things. And over time, what's going to happen is that you have more and more and more. You get now faster to the second investment, faster to the third investment. And they all fuel that seed money account faster and faster. And you're becoming like literally that wheel of wealth that starts rolling down the hill. And that's a good thing, around the hill towards your goal. And it rolls faster and faster and faster because it's almost like having more and more spouts of passive income coming in, feeding your future investments and propelling you forward.
Thank you for sharing also how you generate that seed money, because I think that would have been the next question as you explain the wealth wheel process. Actually, in your book, there's a lot of great ideas that you share that I found very, very valuable. So you've identified 2 top reasons why people fail financially. What are they and how can we avoid them?
First thing is that they invest in the wrong kind of asset. They invest in something that either goes up or down in value, but doesn't really provide them wealth long term. So people are good at making money, but they're not good at keeping the money or investing it in something. And that has to do really at the source behind it with instant gratification. A lot of people are just into instant gratification. They see that new car, they see that new Tesla, that new whatever it is, and they just can't resist. And if you invested in stuff that just goes down in value, you're destroying value. And the other one is having to do with the mindset of not even knowing that there's a difference between making money and building wealth. Most people are focused on making money. They make more, and it's great. But how much are they keeping of that? How much are they investing in that? And how much of that are they using as actually something that feeds them? So you want to almost like change your mind. For me, I've changed my mind, and it's taken me a while to do this, but successfully after a while, that I am not excited about spending money on something that loses value. I'm excited about spending money on something that actually goes up in value or produces cash flow, or ideally a combination of both. So we celebrate our next rental property, but we grudgingly buy another car.
One of the reasons I started the show was to challenge the way that people think about money, investing, and just the overall idea and the concept of retirement. Can you please explain why you think people will not grow wealthy by working the traditional 9-to-5 job for 40 years and investing solely in a 401k plan?
Yes, very simply, because the system is not set up for you to win in that end. It's set up to keep you dependent on those in power, and the world is rigged. But the thing is, you can outsmart the world, and you can work around it. So the world with the 40 years and a 9-to-5 job, or I call it the 55 plan, right? 50 weeks a year, 5 days a week, 2 days a week off. That entire system is depending on you never questioning the world. And again, it's defined again around that concept of the pile of money theory, that you want to grow this up, but build this higher and higher and higher, and then hopefully when you're 65, retire on it. And the entire world is trying to get a piece of you while you do that. And at the same time, your investment methods are really limited inside of that. But when you break out of that, as an alternative to that, when you break out of that and look at, for example, real estate and cash flow investments, there's financial cash flow investments, there's certain annuity plans and certain other things that you got to select really carefully, but there's some good ones out there. But if you focus on the forever cash, it is absolutely reasonable that within 3 to 5 years from now, wherever now is, whether you're 25, 35, 45, 75, 95, wherever you are right now, perhaps 95, it might get a little harder because of overall condition or health or so. But if you're like anywhere between 25 and 65, within a matter of a few years, by focusing on investments or building businesses or starting something that brings you cash flow, you can be financially secure for the rest of your life 3 to 5 years from now, no matter your current age.
You've built a very successful real estate investing business. Within the real estate, there's several types of niches. Can you please share with the listeners what areas you started investing in first and why? And what types of real estate are you currently investing now?
Right now, I started out with land. So it took us, when I say us, my wife and I, we've been married to each other for over 15 years, or almost 15 years now. We started with land. And because, very simply, we didn't have a clue about real estate investing. We didn't understand yet how much it costs to rehab. We didn't really know anything about structures. So with land, the beautiful thing is, especially if it's land in the outskirts of town or acreage in a more rural area, you can buy them very, very cheap. We're buying our land for 5 to 25 cents on the dollar, selling them for anywhere from 50 to 90 cents on the dollar. So we're making our money multiple times over. And at the same time, we don't have to understand about roofing and walls and cost of rehabbing a kitchen and mold and any kind of construction problems and things like that. So we started with what was simple, which in our case was land. And for 5 or 6 years, that's all we've done, flipping several thousand properties and selling many with seller financing. And that has produced tremendous cash flows from the seller financing, where you allow them to make a down payment and then pay you monthly on these things, because it's true passive cash flow, because nobody will ever call you and ask for a repair to a piece of land. So it's really truly passive versus in houses. I have some houses now that I throw off a tremendous amount of cash flow, and other ones where I have bad luck, where there's always, every once in a while, there's a bad tenant in there. And even though I make monthly cash flow, at the end when they move out, they leave so much damages that it kind of destroys what I made over the year. So because of that, I do land, I do houses, and for the very simple reason that the land sales is what we call temporary cash. So they pay you for 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, 15 years, and at some point of time that'll end. And in the housing area, it never ends. But then as we bought a bunch of houses, we have a couple of them in there that just don't perform very well. And I'm selling those and started rolling those funds over into now commercial property. So we own a car repair shop. We own other kind of little smaller properties like that are like in strip mall kind of areas, smaller strip mall, things like that. Because I like the fact that in an average store like that, the doors are being opened in the morning at 9. They're being closed at night at 9. Nobody's there overnight. There's only one little bathroom in there. And other than that, there's nobody vandalizing those things and nobody dealing with them yet. You can actually ask for a higher rent in those than you can ask on a house. So we have graduated from land, which we still do. We still do lots of land deals. We've added houses. Now we've added commercial to it. But the key that they all have in common is they produce cash flow.
Very important, cash flowing those properties, so it doesn't matter if it goes up, down, or sideways.
Yeah.
If you produce monthly cash flow, investors don't really care about whether the market's going up, down, or sideways.
Yes, exactly. That's actually one of the key things that a lot of people also do wrong. Or at least they're hoping. That's what a lot of people did wrong during the boom days in the U.S. in 2007, 6, 7, 8, or when it crashed in 7 and 8. Was that
right.
They were out for the pile of money theory. They were out for appreciation. They were taking negative monthly cash flow deals in the hopes that 3 months later the house would be worth another $40,000 more. During that market, I looked at it and I did not enter that market in the housing world because it just did not make sense. A year later, when prices had plummeted, everyone shied away from real estate. But that's when my wife and I entered the housing market, because now you could buy houses that would actually cash flow tremendously. And you're right. At that price, even though prices were low, we didn't know if prices would continue to go further down or not. But honestly, we did not care, because at the price we could buy these houses, we were seeing a return in the double digits from cash flow, and with that allows us to hold these properties forever, even if the prices plummet further, or if the prices go further up, it allows us to down the road sell them at a high profit again. But in that moment, we were looking at the cash flow price, and that's when we decided to pull the trigger and start buying houses.
It all depends on your view as well. I really appreciate your contrarian view on markets, and especially the real estate markets too. With your contrarian philosophy, where a lot of folks would be running away from it, experienced investors that invest for cash flow saw the crash as an enormous buying opportunity.
Exactly.
What advice would you give to people that want to start investing in real estate, and how would you respond to the mindset that still exists and holding people back from starting to invest in real estate, that if you're going to become a landlord, you're going to fix toilets?
I don't want to fix toilets either, and I've never fixed a toilet. As a matter of fact, I bought a brand new piece of art painting for my living room. It's still sitting there on the floor because I don't even know how to put it up on the wall. So again, it comes down to, if you have enough, if you buy right, if you buy a marginal deal, you end up potentially fixing the toilets yourself, because you don't have the money in it, you don't have the cash flow in it, you don't have the margin in it in order to hire a good property management company. But if you buy right, and there's lots of markets where even today where markets are high where you can buy, there's smart prices. There's properties in Florida, properties in Ohio, properties in other markets around the United States, in Texas and so on, that you can buy where you are bringing in enough positive cash flow that even after paying a professional property manager and some repairs, you're still making a double-digit return on your investment, even on a cash purchase, and even more, of course, on a leverage purchase. So it's a factor of buying right. It's like Warren Buffett says, Warren Buffett always been called the value investor, so because he always buys properties or even stocks that back in the days would identify those that were undervalued. And while the stock market doesn't offer perhaps that many opportunities to buy something at a true below market value, the real estate still does a lot of it. So have a good property management company, and it all comes down at the end of the day to education. You gotta educate yourself financial world, a lot of people give their nest egg to a financial planner, sometimes to a bad one, hopefully to a good one. There are some really good ones out there, very good ones. It comes down to education. You got to know how they operate. And it's the same thing with real estate. In real estate, it's a little bit more hands-on because at the very least, you got to manage the property manager. They're going to come to you with requests for repairs and things like that. So you want to understand that. And there's courses and places out there where you can learn about those things. And that doesn't mean that you ever have to fix a toilet yourself. But you have to just spend perhaps a day or 2 days learning about how much should it cost to replace a toilet? How much should it cost to do certain things around the house so that if a property manager wants to pull one off and basically in good old English screw you on that, then you know about this and you are informed about it and you can go look for a different property manager that's more honest.
You should know your operations inside and out so that you don't get taken advantage of. And I think a huge takeaway here is just financial education. It's cardinal. You should never put a cent of your money into something that you don't understand.
Absolutely.
So you've created some lifetime cash flow from other sources than real estate. Can you please share with my listeners some of that?
Well, yeah. I mean, I've invested in businesses, for example. I use my land income, my land one-time cash from flipping, temporary cash from seller financing, and I'm using my house rental income. All these cash flow sources come in, and I'm using those to sometimes invest in other businesses. I invested in some energy companies that are coming off the ground right now that are very looking to be very lucrative. I invested in some other business partnership that write off dividends. But I also invested in cash flow, in already existing very simple things like dividend stocks. Like if you invest in a stock market, again, I'm an internal cash flow investor. I don't want to just invest in a company that never throws off a dividend because then, unless I really have a good feeling for that they're in a huge growth market and that might be an exception, but I don't put much money on that at all. Instead, I'd rather buy a good, solid, blue chip company that pays perhaps a 3 or 4% dividend, because then I know I'm getting the 3 or 4%, and on top of it, any appreciation is gravy on it.
When you look at an opportunity investment, do you have a checklist or a system that helps you determine a good investment from a bad one?
I'm a very simple guy in that end. I basically look at what's called cash on cash return. That's the thing. So basically I look at how much cash do I put in and how much cash do I get out, and on an annual basis. And then I calculate that, and that's a calculation that works very well. It works whether you pay in full for something, whether you do this on a leverage basis. It really works very simply. For example, a car repair shop that I bought that thing for cash, throws off a 17% cash on cash return. Now that's pretty darn good, I think, considering that I own this thing cash. Now I could leverage it, and if I take a loan against it, my monthly cash flow would go down, but my percentage return, obviously through the leverage effect, would go up, and I would be able to get this into the 30-40% cash on cash returns. But I'm a conservative person. I rather have very little leverage in these cases, because I want to hold on to these properties really forever, and then I want to have them paid off. So the cash-on-cash return is the simplest thing. Now, in a dividend stock, my cash-on-cash return perhaps is not very high. But in this case, I also take then into consideration the appreciation of it. I say, well, if I would sell it today and I got a 4% dividend return, but if and the price went up by another 4%, well, I could sell it today and I would have made 8% of my own money. That's in the stock market. Obviously, that's not a bad return whatsoever.
You've indicated that wealthy people build their wealth without taking major risk and thrive in economic uncertainty. Can you share some of the strategies, how they achieve this?
A lot of wealthy people are contrarians. As you mentioned, they look at a market crash as a tremendous buying opportunity. Now, you never get the bottom of the market right. It might be pure coincidence if you do. I only got it right once, but it didn't matter whether I got it right or not. The wealthy people out there look for value. They look for value development. They understand cash flow, and they understand market cycles. So everything works in a cycle. Real estate in many markets works in about 12-year cycle, and sometimes a little slower, sometimes a little faster. So right now we are about 8 years behind the last market crash, and you see the entire United States, at least in the real estate area, The prices are going up in many areas. In some areas already overheating. So the masses are entering the market to buy and hold now. The smart investors are starting to already sell some off, or at least moving into areas where they're just now starting to do the upswing in the 12-year cycle. So that's really what the wealthy people do. They keep an ear on the ground. They educate themselves massively. They look for value, and meaning for where they can buy something for below market value. They really, their way of going about it is they minimize their potential for losing money and maximize the potential for making money.
Business and investing is definitely a team sport. Which type of professional advisors have you found extremely valuable to your success, and would you recommend to folks just starting out putting on their team first?
It's a good question. You want to have an attorney on your side no matter what, because, no matter what you do, you want to always be able to call an attorney, not because anyone sues you, just because it's good to get a legal opinion and have somebody vetted already before you need that legal opinion. So that's a good thing. I've worked with multiple attorneys, and I don't utilize them more than perhaps once a year for a question here and there. But it's good to know that you can call them or email them and get the answer set up. Also, I do work with realtors. Realtors sometimes bring me deals. Again, there's good and bad realtors. You want to work with realtors that understand what you are doing. Realtors that understand investors. Perhaps if you're in a buying mode, you want to work with people that can bring you deals. Wholesalers, other investors. You want to join a network of organization and so on of real estate investors. In the stock market, you want to have a financial advisor. You want to have somebody that understands the business cycles and understands the market and has been there before and so on, so that you don't have to literally walk around to find your way around in the darkness. You have people that have already seen the light and know things and have a good track record and can help you out.
One of the habits that I've observed from really successful and wealthy people is that they're always studying new subjects and learning new skills. What are you currently studying, and what skill sets are you currently learning?
All right, awesome. Well, you're asking some really good questions here. About 8 years ago, I started an additional line of business, which is an educational business. So not only do I do real estate investing now, but I also have an educational business that teaches other people how to invest in real estate and how to reach financial independence. You mentioned the book that I wrote. I wrote a book called Forever Cash, and I have other programs and things on there. So a lot of that, and even my real estate is nowadays being sold mainly online. So I've been spending the last multiple years dedicating a substantial amount of time and resources, money for that matter, on continuing trying to be on the cutting edge of what's happening on the internet. So internet marketing is not going away. Internet marketing is not a fad. It's something that everyone will sooner or later have to deal with, even if some people are still resisting it. Facebook is not going anywhere. There's ways to utilize these networks also to get more deals, to help more people, reach more people, sell your real estate, buy real estate, find investment tips and things like that. So I'm doing a lot of internet marketing learning because my entire land is being sold only through the internet. And also, I'm learning about, I love the enterprise. I'm learning about business. I want to always become a better manager, run my businesses more efficient, more effective, reach more growth with less input of my time. My goal this year is by the end of the year to be really only working 1 to 2 hours a day on my businesses and have the rest of the time to be spending with my family, and at the same time have my businesses actually be more profitable than they are today.
And that actually ties into my next question. What resources have contributed to your success?
Yes, it does tie right into it because obviously there's part of it is the people you work with. You cannot underestimate or even overestimate the impact that having the right people on board does have for your business, for your operations, for how much of a peace of mind you can have and how far you can step away from your business while the operations are still running. The other part, though, is obviously systems. We're living in a high-technology world, and anyone that is still resisting those systems, really, I have to say, they are going to be lost in the business world just another 5 years from now because it's just speeding up, and the systems are so important. And I'm using a whole bunch of systems. We have a customer relationship management system that we use. There's multiple out there. A lot of people use Infusionsoft. There's another one called Entreport, which we just switched over to. For our real estate, we self-developed a program called the investment dominator, which allows you to take your properties to the entire process, has websites built in and so on. We're about to actually launch that to the public in a few weeks. But it's currently it's only available for those who work closely with us in one of our mentoring programs. But it's coming out soon. I contribute a lot to my success to constantly learning. So I'm an avid listener to podcasts. I got my own podcast too. We use systems like Constant Contact, iContact, SendGrid, Aweber. All of these are great systems. The one we use is, I think, iContact and SendGrid, along with Infusionsoft and or Entreport. Many different systems that we use. We have a membership program called My Open Path, where there is membership managing systems automatically that we can allow members on and off. And so there's a lot of things that we don't have to think anymore on a daily basis, but they're done automatically. And that's really the future of business.
Thank you for sharing that. That's a wealth of information. I'll post links to some of those resources that you mentioned in the show notes. In your book, in one chapter, you discuss some great advice that your grandfather gave you. What's the best advice you've ever received and the most important lesson that you've learned on your journey?
Wow, you really read that book in detail, so I appreciate that. Yes, I talk about my grandfather who basically says the difference between a dollar saved and a dollar spent is actually $2. And although that is not technically correct math, his point was, if you have $1 in your pocket and you put it into that seed money account, you got $1. If you take that $1 and spend it, not only do you not have that $1 anymore, you have given away that $1. So you first have to now earn another $1 to make up for the one that you spend. He was a big saver. Now, he was also a big investor and so on, or not a small investor, but he was important to his life. The biggest event, the biggest things I've ever learned, not really from my grandfather in that end, but at the end of the day, perhaps from him, because he ended up building over the course of his life, little by little, a 6-unit apartment building where he lived in one and he rented out the other 5. And between the cash flow from that and his pension and a little bit work here and there, when he was retired, he was making more money than he was when he was having a job. And his biggest paycheck was $2,000 in his life from his job. He was a clerk at something equivalent to Walmart. So really, it's that cash flow sets you free is the biggest thing that I've learned. So when you focus on cash flow, I know people that have $400,000 in their 401k or in their IRA. If they were to take that money and invest that in, let's say, 8 rental houses in a market where you can buy a rental house in a decent area for $50,000, $60,000, then they would be making, let's say, $600 a house. They would be making 6 times, what is that? 8 is, that's $4,800 a month coming to them in cash flow for the rest of their life, versus right now having that money sitting there and perhaps with other methods or just drawing from it won't get there. So cash flow is what sets you free. And the other part is that once you select something, the power of focus. You really want to stick to it. There's a concept that I've been taught that's called get in line, stay in line, which really means that once you select something as the thing you want to do, be careful with selecting, look at a few things, then pick something, and then just do whatever it takes to make that work. If you turn on 10 different races and you're 100-meter races and you only run 10 yards in each of these races, you haven't reached the goal yet. Instead, take one of them and run the full race with it, and you will get the prize. Because in this financial life, you don't have to be the first one to arrive there, but everyone that arrives at the goal line is getting the prize.
So if you were only allowed to pass 5 principles to your children and grandchildren to help them to succeed, what would that be besides the cash flow and obviously focus?
I have an 8-year-old daughter, and I'm applying some of these already to her, teaching her some of those, because the number one of them is probably that your financial situation in your life and your job do not have to be the same. Most people equal, they say, well, I can't do this because my job doesn't pay me that much. Your job has nothing to do with your financial situation in your life. Your job it's not nothing. A job contributes to financial in your life, but it's your financial intelligence, your financial education that allows you to do things outside of your job that will make you financially free. So I tell my daughter, you can be anything in life you want. You can be a street artist if you want. I don't care. Whatever makes you happy, you can be. But you will understand. I will make sure that you understand that you are financially literate when you grow up and when you're an adult, because when you're financially literate, you can make money outside of anything that you want to dedicate your life to, and you can become a millionaire many times over while being a street artist if that's what you want to be. So that's really my message to her. Separate the two. There's many ways to make money out of thin air. You can you can put a piece of property under contract and assign that contract to somebody else and get a payment of $10,000 for that without ever spending a dime out of your pocket. If you understand that, you can be working with animals, you can be working with people, you can be working wherever you want to work in jobs that don't pay much, and from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. To a few nights a week, you can make these $10,000 checks. It has nothing to do with your job. That's probably one. The other one, obviously, be yourself, do what you love. And another principle that I've learned that has really helped me get out of that keeping up with the Joneses thing is that your neighbors do not pay your bills. You do not have to appear a certain way to your neighbors. If they laugh at what you do, let them laugh. They're probably up to their neck in debt and are barely surviving. You're doing something that might be not sexy, but at the same time, you're learning. You're going to the seminars. You're building your financial literacy, and you're moving forward and getting things done and building that financial moat around your life, the financial protection that they will probably never have. And at the end, if that's important to you, you have the last laugh. But after a while, you realize that your neighbors, they don't talk about you all day long. They don't care really, truly about your financial success. Only you are in charge of your financial success.
Very powerful advice. What books, besides your book, Forever Cash, Break the Earn and Spend Cycle, Take Charge of Your Life, and Build Everlasting Wealth, would you recommend to our listeners?
Well, it always changes. I read about 30 to 50 books a year. I try to read one a week. Sometimes I'm not successful on that because obviously I also like to spend a lot of time with my daughter, and my wife, obviously. But currently I'm reading a book that I'm really, really liking that goes along those same lines that's called Essentialism. And it's written by Greg McKeown, and it's called Essentialism. And it really goes down to the point of what is really, really important in your life. And it helps you through a thinking process and even to a decluttering process of your mind, of your life, even your closet for that matter. It talks about that. And it helps you really identify, give you some tools to stop the busyness that we all do. And it has a beautiful quote in there. It says, almost everything in life is unimportant. But there's a few things in life that are just crucially important. If you identify those, the future belongs to you. So it brings an example of Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett, literally, he identified that early on, and I'm a big fan of Warren Buffett. It says in the book, and I've read it somewhere else, that 90% of Warren Buffett's net worth can be traced down to 10 decisions he made in his life. 90% of his $60-something billion net worth can be traced down to 10 decisions in his life. So he makes decisions every day, but almost all of them are absolutely unimportant in the long run, but very few are very, very important. So that's his essentialism, and I really like the message of that book.
I'm definitely putting that to my reading list. How can my listeners learn more about you, your book, blog, your podcast, your seminars, and your speaking engagements?
All right. I'd love to share that. Just a couple of links. The very best way I think your listeners can learn more, I recently started that. I put almost all my programs that I have behind one membership program where you get access to everything all at the same time. And you get a 7-day free trial even and so on. And there's even a way to sign up for free as a demo membership. So and that is called www.myopenpath.com. I talk about the land flipping, about tax delinquent real estate investing like tax liens, tax deeds, house flipping, mindset, even some internet marketing methods. There's over 1,000 hours of education on how to become financially independent in there. And as I said, you can even sign up for free by setting up a demo account by just going to the top left there, top right. It says there free, sign up, start for free on there. Next to it is the sign up button. it's really, really also, it's a monthly membership program. Is that it's, if you want to sign up for it, there's a very low fee of a few dollars a month. But as I said, there's even a free way to sign up for it. And that's, again, myopenpath.com. Inside of it, there's also links to my live events. I do have live events coming up under Jack Bosch Live, and that is JackBoschLive.com. And obviously, if you want to buy the book, you can go to forevercashbook.net, and you can actually even get a free copy of the book for that. As a matter of fact, though, if you go to myopenpath.com, you get the book for free inside of that page too.
Gotcha. I'll put links to all of those resources in our show notes. Jack, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your journey and providing a wealth of information and a lot of value to my listeners. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
Thank you for spending some time with me today and my guest, Jack Bosch. Just a reminder that you can find all of our past shows, show notes, and recommended resources and join our community at cashflowninja.com. During the first 2 months of our podcast, we are giving away a $500 Visa gift card. All you have to do to get entered into the drawing is go to cashflowninja.com/iTunes and rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast. Please help us spread the word of our show. If you feel that our show has provided valuable content and information, please share it with family, friends, and anyone that you feel will enjoy it. Till next time, live a life of passion and purpose on your terms.
You have been listening to the Cashflow Ninja with your host, MC Laubscher, the podcast empowering and inspiring people to discover how to generate their own income and manage, grow, and protect their own wealth in the new economy. Today's show notes and resources are available on our website, cashflowninja.com. This presentation is for educational and informational purposes only. The information being presented and considered does not consider your particular financial objectives or situation, and it does not make personalized recommendations. This material is not intended to replace the advice of a qualified tax and legal advisor or other qualified professionals, and you should not use the information in place of a customized consultation with a licensed professional regarding your specific personal financial objective, situation, and needs. We believe the information provided is reliable, but we do not guarantee its accuracy, timeliness, or completeness.